telemetry analysis application that goes with the Z1 dashboard. Its goal is to help you achieve faster laps by improving the most important part of the car, the driver. Right now, we are seeing 2 laps played back against each other to see how they compare. We have various traces, a track map, and video replay displayed, and this is all customizable. We can choose to display scatter plots, and these can also be customized to show any available data channel. The histograms are also supported, allowing you to dig deeper into suspension settings or any other data channel you wish to display as a histogram. One of the great aspects of the Z1 Analyzer is the analysis screens. These screens show how you are doing on your lap and provide insight on how you can improve. The lap overview screen displays general information about the lap and compares the 2 loaded laps. The track walk shows you a requested corner in detail, and the brake points display details the braking for each corner and how the laps compare. The driving line display shows the driving line of the 2 laps overlaid on the track, allowing you to easily see how the lines of each lap compare. The turn analysis screen provides information on how you are taking each turn and ways to improve. The brake lockup screen will let you know if you locked your brakes at any point during the lap. The ride height display provides a visual representation of the ride heights around the track, as well as any location where you may have bottomed out on the track. So this has been a very quick overview of the Z1 Analyzer. To try out the demo, please visit our website at z1dashboard.com. Again, that's z1dashboard.com.
Welcome back to Podium Esports coverage of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. Round 3 of Series 5 continues from Barber Motorsport Park just outside of Birmingham, Alabama, with the club class presented by Michelin, a better way forward. They take center stage here, and a big thanks before we get going to our friends at Z1 Analyzer, whose video you just saw right before we kicked off coverage of our 3rd race of the evening. You can head to z1dashboard.com for more information on their product and to pick up a copy of their software today. We enter this club class and enter our 3rd race of the evening, where Sean Benet, older brother of Jensen, who drives in the sport class, who had the unfortunate incident a little bit earlier. But Sean is the point leader coming into this evening over Trey Drawhorn, who won at Laguna Seca. But it is Rafael Amarim, who is 3rd in points, who currently paces the field in qualifying, a 1:29.066. First time I think we've seen laps in the 29s in tonight's racing, and they will get progressively faster and faster as we carry on tonight. These classes go up in skill levels, so the club class here, the 2nd most skilled group in theory at the end of all this, and then the best of the best, the pro class, will round out the evening at the top of the hour next time around, 10 p.m. Eastern, roughly your start time there. Time to bring you the starting grid for this group, where Amarim does have the fast time, that 1:29.066, good enough to keep him in P1 for this race. Stephen Chen will roll off from 2nd. Adam Golightly, who is new for the week, will roll off from 3rd. Jean-Paul Leno rolls off from the 4th spot. 5th is where you'll find Clifton Lipple. Trey Drawhorn, winner at Laguna Seca, starts 6th. 7th is Rodney Campbell. Mark Harris rides in 8th. 9th is where you'll find Patrick Gill, and Sean Benet rolls off from P10.
Sean Murphy will be starting in the 11th position, followed by Kevin Douglas in 12th. Brett Holmes will start in the 13th position, followed by Spencer Karate in 14th. Mario Gonzalez will start in the 15th position, followed by Klaus Nielsen in 16th. Ed Nelson will be starting in 17th with Jake Steinbrink in 18th. Robert Cottle will be starting in 19th, followed by Michael Patterson rounding out your top 20.
21st will be John Patterson, Bruce Robinson 22nd, 23rd Andrew Elsom and Tamar Elbaga 24th. Mike Nyden out of the PCA region rolls off in 25th and 26th. He's Brady McMacken, former class champion of PCA sim racing last season, won what is now the challenge class. Take a look at the track facts before we go racing here at Barber Motorsports Park. Just outside of Birmingham. We are technically in Leeds, Alabama, not Leeds, Yorkshire. No connection here to Leeds United, newly promoted to the Premier League for the 2020-2021 season, as we get our weekly foosball reference in. But we run the full course here at Barber, which is 2.38 miles, 3.83 kilometers in length. 10 turns officially, but there are a lot of A and B complexes at Barber. By that we mean a lot of 10A, 10B, 10C, I think even one point on the course. So make of that what you will. But what we can tell you is that it is same time as per usual, just about 7 a.m. local time on iRacing Day, May 15th, 2020 in Sim. Current temps steady throughout the evening. So again, 70 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 71 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, winds headed to the east at 10 miles an hour, and humidity of 80%. We once again race for 40 minutes and change, depending on where the leaders cross the start-finish line in relation to that 40-minute time counter. And at the end of it all, we'll have a third race complete in our third class of 4 this evening, Taylor Burris. And after a pretty wild sports race, I have a feeling that the club race is probably going to be a little bit tamer, you would think.
We'll find out. I mean, we saw last week as well how pretty crazy at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park this club class has gotten. So anything is possible. A lot can happen here. And looking through the field right now, we see a couple of drivers who are pretty hungry for a win. One is Rafael Armin, who was so close of winning the past 2 rounds, but yet was not able to take home the checkered flag. So he's going to be definitely one to watch here tonight.
Another one to watch here, one of 3 new drivers across all classes of PCA sim racing this week. Adam Golightly in the 14 car, that orange machine out of the Lone Star region of the PCA, which covers Houston and College Station. Qualified 3rd, so plenty of speed on debut for the 14 machine. We'll keep an eye on how he races and keep an eye on how the rest of the field carries themselves, as we'll see how he gets on, and we'll see whether or not we'll have any more fun with the rest of this field, and keep an eye on whether or not Rafael Amarin can claim his stake at the top 2. He's one of the highest drivers in the point standings to date, still searching for victory in this club class to go along with Sean Benet and Trey Drawhorn, and it would equal the mark of the sport class, which Carl Arts Jr. just knocked off, where we'd have the top 3 in points all collect 1 win in the first 3 races and establish themselves as early class title favorites. Amarin will lead us to the green ahead of Stephen Chen and Adam Golightly as we get set to go. Green flag racing from Barber, and we're off in this club class presented by Michelin. A better way forward. Amarin in line with Ched, with Golightly, with Lipple, then Leno. Everybody all pretty much single file up to 1 and 2 very quickly, as Amarin will lead them down the hill and through 4 to the turn 5 hairpin for the first time.
Everybody single file for the most part throughout the field right now. Everybody taking their time. No big pressure right now. Everyone knows this is still early. Anything is possible as they're now coming down to the turn 4 complex and now heading the braking zone. Everybody trying to give each other room, but we have a couple of cars decided to go too wide through that complex as we see Brett Holmes and Kevin Douglas go side by side for 12th. Douglas will retain that position.
Riding on board with the new man, Adam Golightly, and now to Kevin Douglas, who rides a little bit further back as everybody gets down into single file. If you're not single file by the turn 8 right-hander, you're going to get there in pretty short order. That's just how it's worked here at Barber, as everybody goes nose to tail to nose to tail to nose to tail in very short order. And Amarin continues to play Pied Piper, but Golightly beginning to pressure Stephen Chen for second.
It is safe to say that Adam is not going lightly right now, as he is definitely putting the pressure on Steven Chen. He then gets to back off a little bit through turn 14 as they're heading up to turn 15 right now. He gets a great run off of there to help propel him a little bit forward to try to catch up with Steven Chen.
Your pun work is superior. I'm not sure.
I had to tonight. That's my one pun for the night that I had to get in tonight.
We'll see if you end up getting punnier at any other points during the evening, as Go Lightly does sit in third. And very quickly, this race has stretched out. That, to me, is the most notable feature of it. After the first lap pair, everybody pretty well spaced out, save for Raphael Amarin, Steven Chen, Adam Go Lightly, and Jean-Paul Lano. Clifton Lippel also in the mix too, another one of the orange cars, and he's sort of the last man in this train. There's just the slightest gap between him and Jean-Paul Lano in the 10 machine. Lano out of the Mardi Gras region, so again, sort of the same principle from the challenge classes earlier, where it isn't necessarily quite home, but it is home, at least as close as you're going to get, I would argue, for him and maybe some of the Peach Staters. So the Peach Staters will have their big moment next week at Road Atlanta.
They certainly will right now when we go to Road Atlanta, but they're just pretty much right across the pond, or right across the next state line here before this. So some of them might consider this a second home track for them as they're working their way up through the field. And notice a couple of cars got some damage. It looks like Ed Nielsen's car is dragging just a little bit. Some damage to the rear end of that number 987 Porsche, as we're looking to the field to see if there's any more close battles. Pretty much from, I would say, 12 on back there, everyone's lined up pretty much nose to tail to put on a great show, as Spencer Karate is leading that group.
Sean Murphy has been black flagged for an incident in the opening few laps of this race, so he's going to have work to do. Karate is indeed your leader of that little subgroup, if you want to call it that, but that's not to say that Patrick Gill isn't terribly far ahead of Karate, and I'm not necessarily certain if you can claim separation there. If we've got it, it's between Rodney Campbell, Sean Bidet, Kevin Douglas, and Campbell to Bidet in particular is the big gap. Almost 8 seconds between the 62 and the 7 that ride in 7th and 8th.
Yeah, it's a great battle right there, and that's probably is one of the biggest gaps we see throughout the field right now between Campbell and Drawhorn. But pretty much that top 6 has checked out for the most part over the rest of the field, as they are definitely setting the pace.
Have indeed set the pace. Last time by, you had a lot of drivers rolling around in the 29s and the 30s, but they were all in the top 6. And then the drop-off got significant. You go from Drawhorn, then to Campbell and Benet, who were in the 31s and 32s, and then a 35 for Douglas and a 37 for Gill, who's going to get turned by Karate and end up smacking one other car at the final corner of the track. One car wide and way off the way. It's Brett Holmes in the 6 machine.
Unfortunate for both Gill as well as Brett Holmes, who were involved in that incident. As you see, Karate just absolutely just turned him around, as it looks like Brett Holmes went up on 2 wheels as well. So a lot of hard contact. That is going to be reviewed by the stewards here.
Biggest thing of note, though, is that Karate and everybody behind Gill were significantly faster the lap before that incident happened. It was a 137 that he ran to the 135s behind him, so they were looking for a way to get around, and that ultimately, I think, in part, probably becomes a speed difference thing, where if you are that much quicker than someone else, sometimes it's hard to stay off the rear bump.
It certainly is, but it's still got to show a little bit of give and take, especially this early on in the race. We're only 34 minutes left to go in this race. We have a 40-minute race, so that was only 6 minutes in. I think it could have been a little easier to probably just back off and let the racing happen a little later on.
Valid point, because Karate has been black flagged by race control for his contact with Patrick Gill. So Karate will have to come down pit road and serve that penalty. Meanwhile, Raphael Amarim beginning to stretch it out on Steven Chen, who is keeping Adam Go Lightly and Clifton Lippel at bay, but hasn't really stretched it out too much. And then a great battle between Jean-Paul Lano and Trey Drawhorn for 5th and 6th. And then you go back to Ed Nelson, who just escaped that incident. He's in 11th, but He's there. And then Klaus Nielsen, Jake Steinbrink, Mario Gonzalez, Robert Cottle. You could even argue Michael Patterson and John Patterson are right there in the mix too. And that's everybody from 12th all the way back to about 17th or 18th.
Yeah, great battling amongst the field right now as Sean Benet, let me see, something happened to him. Because he was running inside the top 10 for a few moments. There's Sean Murphy right there.
Maybe the slightest bit of damage to Benet's machine. We'll take a look and see if there's anything of note with that.
He's coming down pit road right now, or coming off pit road right now as we speak.
Right. Everything looks all right on that 7 machine. So I wonder.
Fuel strategy?
Yeah, that was my thought. Maybe he short pits and gets the fuel issue out of the way, which, that's certainly a way to do it. If you think you can make it from here and get the gas in, you could short pit and then give yourself all the space in the world to just run your race and not have to worry about racing the traffic behind you. And if you can turn quick times, even if you're in the back of the field, if everybody else has to come down and get that splash of gas to finish the race, as we've seen, especially in the higher classes, then maybe not the worst call from Benet to come down pit road, get out of the way early, and just run his race. If he runs his race and is quicker than most folks up front, all of a sudden, when we get to the end of this, he'll be right back at the front, ready to fight for the win.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's also got to try to make sure he stays on the lead lap. He may be able to keep up ahead of the rest of the field, but Rafael Amin is running some very quick lap times indeed. And that number 21 Porsche ran a 1:29.62 this last lap. So we'll have to keep track and see what Sean Benet is going to be running as the run continues to progress.
We'll keep an eye on lap times with Benet as this race progresses. What he runs in the back of the field will be very intriguing. It will determine a lot, I think, how this race is going to pan out at the front. Only driver who's decided to short pit in that manner. Delta's about 20 seconds, I would say, given what he did. If you're just going in for that splash, but he ran a 47 to Amarim's 29, so you all can do the math. 18, I guess, if we're going to be technical, but that's the number you sort of need to have in your head if you're going to come down pit road and maintain your position if it's a splash of fuel, like we think a lot of these drivers will need from this race.
That's going to be critical. We saw that happen at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where several drivers tried to stretch it all the way. Some ran out of fuel coming to the checkered. Some were able to make it, but it's going to be a matter of how well you can fuel conserve or how quickly you can get in and out of pit road before everybody else.
Or maybe not necessarily get up pit road faster than everybody else. It could go a lot of different ways, I think, as Rafael Amarim continues to lead this field and continues to work his way through Barber Motorsports Park. Beautiful circuit just outside of Lee Durango that opened up in 2003. One of the newer racetracks in America, but a complex originally designed for the Skip Barber School, famous for their Formula trainers and their school of racing that allows folks to learn the ins and outs of driving a real race car for the very first time. Made plenty famous back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And this track now a place that's best known for hosting the Honda IndyCar Grand Prix of Alabama for the NTT IndyCar Series. So a lot of fun, I think, to be had there.
Well, also, if you think about it, James, this is also the home to the Porsche driving school as well. A lot of young, up-and-coming Porsche drivers will come to Barber not only to learn how to drive a Porsche race car, but also how to be a Porsche factory driver. I mean, these drivers are going under a lot of scrutineering as far as of how to be one of the premier top factory drivers or semi-factory drivers for customer racing teams who are using the famed Porsche manufacturer as their choice of race cars. So it's a great honor if you get the chance to come to this track if you wanted to drive for Porsche, because that is just the first step of many to work your way up to becoming probably what every Porsche fan would love to be, a Porsche factory driver.
I was about to say that everybody does not want to be a cat, in fact, but instead be Patrick Long. In that case, only factory driver for Porsche from the United States. And more folks trying to follow in his footsteps, but that program that does take place here at Barber, part of the road to that place. So certainly a valid candidate for Porsche Racing. And no surprise then that PCA finally does come to Barber and runs here. This is a track that I think absolutely could have been on the calendar in any one of the first 4 seasons of PCA Sim Racing, and it's been pretty entertaining across the board tonight. Interesting challenge for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, this track provides a wide variety of challenge no matter what type of Porsche you bring out here, whether it be these GT4s, whether it be the GT3 Cup cars, which we've seen in other forms of Porsche competition, especially in the World Championship, Super Cup Series, and then, of course, the GTEs, mostly ran in amongst other series with the iRacing Official, and those cars provide a lot of great racing action. So one of these days we may see the GTE or the GT3 Cup car run here, but for now, we are pleasure to bring you the coverage with these GT4.
Looking at Klaus Nielsen, who won the Z1 Analyzer giveaway last week when we were at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And Klaus Nielsen, very, very busy here, getting everything done and dusted out of Richmond, Texas, part of the Lone Star region of the PCA. A pandemic driver who enjoys keeping up the back and keeping the wheels on track for a full session. Originally, he is from Denmark, but forever will be a fan of the 930 slant nose, his particular favorite Porsche of choice. And Nielsen holding down the final spot in the top 10, just ahead of Jake Steinbrink in 11th there.
Yeah, doing a great job holding off. I guess that Z1 Analyzer helped him out a little bit to get ready for this race as he then tries to dive to the inside. Who was that driver right there? Ed Nelson in the number 987. He was able to make a great brave pass on Ed Nelson as they come out of turn 4.
Really, really brave stuff there to try and get Ed Nelson up and uprooted out of P10, who tried to fight back and tried to get back at Nielsen and get underneath him in 8, but it just didn't quite hit. As we work our way through tonight's race, we'll remind you that coverage of PCA Sim Racing and setups for PCA Sim Racing are available courtesy of our friends at Virtual Racing School. For drivers who don't have the time to put together their own setups, VRS offers setups for every single car, class, and track in iRacing to make your times faster, and they are available for these drivers tonight in Porsche Club of America Sim Racing at Barber Motorsports Park. To find out more information about them, head to their website at virtualracingschool.com. As Nielsen is going to give the spot back up to Ed Nelson, I think he just didn't want to deal with the pressure. We saw what happened with Brendan Jote and the pressure being around Jensen Bidet in the sport class just a bit ago. Something tells me Nielsen taking preventative action to avoid a similar situation in this club class.
Yeah, great job to just give the position over back. He knows there's still a lot of racing left to go, over 17 laps left to go in this race, so a lot can still happen as we then see Nielsen then get almost punted by Jake Steinbrink right there in the 46 as he tried to dive it to the inside, couldn't complete the pass, and that was they go down the straightaway before they hit to turn 7.
I feel like Nielsen knew what was coming. It seemed like he had a sense of what he was looking for. So Nielsen was able to go wide in the hairpin, and then Steinbrink had to check up, and that's opened up about a second between the 04 and the 46. And now Steinbrink needs to worry more about Mario Gonzalez. He's the man now stalking that group over there. And Gonzalez out of the Hill Country region of the PCA, which covers Austin, Texas, and San Marcos. While Steinbrink comes from the Ohio Valley region, which covers the Ohio Valley region in Ohio, Kentucky, very southern part of West Virginia to that southwestern corner right by Huntington, and going up the river a little bit towards Wheeling, all part of the Ohio Valley region of the PCA.
Probably one of the most amazing things with the PCA Sim Racing Series is all the different places that each and every single one of these drivers comes from. I mean, you have people all over the United States and Canada that come here to race, to enjoy what we all love right here with the PCA Sim Racing Series, Porsches. And they are definitely putting on a great show no matter where they are from.
Samara Albaga has been black flagged for getting into Patrick Gill and ending Gill's night. We'll see what happened there, but trouble for 111 after the second night of the evening, and just a really tough night for Gil. As Rafael Amarim continues to lead this race, we look at Sean Benet, older brother of Jensen Benet, who is pretty well prolific already in this series.
Yeah, both of the two Benet brothers have had a win this season so far. Both of them, I believe, if I remember correctly, at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, both brothers took home the checkered flag there.
They did indeed, as you now look off the rear of Stephen Chen, who's been locked in this battle with Adam Golightly for about last 3, 4, 5 laps or so, pretty much since they dropped the green flag. They're all losing time to Amarim, but it's really good for P2 between the 8 and the 14.
Yeah, both of these drivers giving it everything they have, putting on a great battle amongst each other as they head up to turn number 4. Both of them giving each other room, racing cleanly, but not still being very competitive with each other, putting the needed pressure on each other when needed as they come out of turn 4 down the straight before they get to turn 7.
Lots of work to be done here. Stephen Chen, another one of the Diablo region PCA members, and you see the paint on his car very appropriately warm, to say the least. But covering Oakland and Richmond and Vallejo, California, that's where you'll find Stephen Chen, who jumped in March and won one of the races during the summer. Got second overall in his class in the summer interlude series that preceded Series 5 for PCA Sim Racing. Is a big fan of the 991.2 GT3 RS, but also loves the 993, the 911 Turbo, and enjoy working on his own cars to the point where he's got a scan tool that allows him to reset the lights. So there's a bit of confidence for yourself if you can shut the lights off and reset everything knowing that you've done it the right way. I have a feeling that Stephen Chen, if he virtually breaks his car, he's going to be the one in this field that is going to virtually know how to put it together.
He certainly will, as he's doing a great job with that, and currently tries to hold off a hard-charging Adam Golightly as they come out of turn number 2 to up the hill. They will make the climb before they hit the braking zone of turn number 4. Stephen Chen, though, doing a great job. Both of them running around the same lap times, almost identical. A 1:32.5 for Golightly and a 1:32.66 for Stephen Chen. So these two are definitely very competitive and very closely talented drivers.
And they cannot keep pace with Amarim at the moment, but they've separated themselves from Trey Jawhorn and Clifton Lipple, who are in a good fight of their own. That's 4th and 5th. They've got about 3.5 seconds on Jawhorn, and then that pair has about 4 seconds on Jean-Paul Leno, who then has 5 seconds on Rodney Campbell, and that's really where the field starts to gap out. As Jake Steinbrink has ended up in trouble over in I think that's turn 4, and that's a common one that I'm surprised we haven't seen more tonight, where drivers just get loose coming off of turn 3 and catch the grass in the hill up to turn 4, get themselves in trouble. That's it up in the side brink, so he'll continue, but rolls along in the 14th position, just behind Ed Nelson in 13th.
Well, he's another one of those drivers who has lost his wing, but is still out there on the track, trying to put on a good show, catch up to, looks like to be the 987 of Ed Nelson, who's in front of him. So those two will go into battle for the 14th position.
Nelson and Steinbrink in a good fight of their own. Elsom and Benet over for the back, also pretty tightly bunched with one another, but we have more separation in this race than we did in the sport class for sure. And not quite as many battles, so we'll keep our eyes here on Golightly and Chen, which is the battle of the race so far, and has been the battle pretty much all night. And these two have been closer to each other than just about any other two drivers in this club class field.
Hey, James, I got to mention, we had an issue with Rafael Amin. He actually went off course after trying to get around some lap traffic. He just overshoots the corner with actually following the 71 of Mike Knight, in which caused him to go off. Loses a ton of time now to Stephen Chen, as Stephen Chen and Adam Golightly have caught Rafael Amin as they go down the back straightaway.
They have to some degree, but they'll have to do a little bit better to catch Amarim, who is gapping those drivers pretty consistently over the few laps before his incident coming out of the last corner. Time to take a look at our midway race break for the club class of PCA Sim Racing Series 5 Round 3, which is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward. Rafael Amorim is your race leader as it stands. He comes out of the Peach State Regional PCA, so he'll have a big week next week. Stephen Chen currently rides in P2. P3 belongs to the newcomer, Adam Golightly. Our winner at Laguna Seca, Trey Drawhorn out of the Chicago region, rides in 4th. 5th, another Peach Stater, Clifton Lipple. 6th at this stage, out of the Mardi Gras region, Jean-Paul Leno. 7th belongs to Rodney Campbell out of the Wild Rose region, Calgary and Southern Alberta in the mix there. 8th to the 04 machine of Klaus Nielsen. 9th at this stage to the 777 of Mario Gonzalez. And then 10th is the 89 of Robert Conner.
Currently sitting in the 11th position after starting in 20th goes to Michael Patterson. In the 12th position, started 17th, Ed Nelson in the 987. Jake Steinbrink, he had a little bit of issues early on, but has now recovered to work his way up to P13. In 14th, the 810 of Kevin Douglas. And 15th, Sean Benet, who pitted one of the earliest drivers to make a pit stop. He is out there, currently has worked his way up to 15th. 16th goes to Brett Holm. He had trouble early on with some contact. And then in 17th is Andrew Elsom. 18th is John Patterson in that number 63, followed by Brady McMacken, who started in 26th dead last, worked his way up to 19th. Rounding out your top 20, the last car on the lead lap, Spencer Karate.
21st at this stage belongs to Bruce Robinson. Hangs tight there in the number 386 machine. 22nd belongs to Samir Al-Bakr. 23rd in this race to the 981 of Mark Harris, and Sean Murphy currently sits in 24th. 25th in the last car running is Mike Neiden, and Patrick Gill 26th. Retired already from this race, unfortunately, early on. And that concludes our Midway race break, which is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward. We get back to the front of this field, and surprise, surprise, closest battle on track, still Stephen Chen, Adam Golightly. But that's not to say that Trey Drawhorn and Clifton Lipple aren't having a pretty good battle of their own for that 4th spot.
No, they're right there. Not as close as we see Chen and Golightly, but they are still on top of each other as they come down the back straightaway. Once again, they see 1st, 2nd, and 3rd within their sight, just up the road, but still have a lot of work to do to try to catch up to the top 3 as they climb up the hill through turn 11 before diving back down to the bottom of the hill in turn 12. Both drivers putting on a great performance as Lipple ran a 1:30.38, but he decides to come down pit road. Trey Drawhorn will stay out this time.
Drawhorn is going to hang tight and hang out as Lipple will come down and make his pit stop, and we'll keep an eye on how this pans out. Also note, Sean Benet, not terribly far off from the leader's pace. Remember, he's the one that pitted earlier on in this race. Was going to try and short pit and drive past everybody else as they come down for fuel, presumably. So certainly something that'll be worth keeping your eyes on.
They are certainly going to be, but the question will be, when will we see these leaders come down pit road? I mean, I know Rafael has tried, when he had that gap, possibly might have saved some fuel, but I don't think not enough to take it to the end. And I know definitely that Stephen Chen and Adam Golightly were not saving any fuel when these two were battling for position. The Trey Drawhorn's still out there on the track, and he had a little bit of room to where he could save a bit of fuel to where he could possibly make it to the end, as John Paul Leno is some close to 6 seconds back.
Jean-Paul Leno has plenty of room. Yeah, that's about where you get to the room where we've had space in the back half of the top 10, where a lot of those drivers, Rodney Campbell, Klaus Nielsen, Mario Gonzalez, all having good runs for sure, but just not necessarily close to one another at this time. So not really much to talk about or speak about on their races. They've just sort of been maintaining at this stage. It's been Chen and Golightly who have been all over one another. But you do bring up a good point there, Taylor, in that if you figure that Amorim with his pace isn't necessarily saving fuel, and Chen and Golightly have been battling and they probably haven't saved fuel, then is it maybe a Jean-Paul Leno or Rodney Campbell or maybe even a Sean Benet that might be best positioned in the fuel saving department?
Well, I'm looking to see as the rest of the field makes their way past pit entrance. So far, nobody has chosen. Speaking of, Mario Gonzalez decides to come down pit road as Robert Cotto continues on the racetrack as he goes forward. But so far, at least 3 to 4 drivers who are in contention for a good finish have made their way down pit road. See what Jake Steinbrink does. He will come down pit road, putting Sean Bonet up to P13. So he's starting to work his way up through the field, and looking at his time as he come across the start-finish line, Sean Bonet ran a 130.96 compared to Rafael in the 21, a 129.72. So Rafael is definitely putting the hammer down. He's not saving any fuel whatsoever at this time.
Definitely a decent strategy from Bonet. I think it did help him to some degree. Problem is that Clifton Lippel is actually the first of the drivers who has already made their pit stops. So Bonet would have to race up to Lippel and get to him in order to be the first one out on cycle of pit stops, which is going to carry on and continue. Don't think anybody up towards the front came down for service just yet. Zamarine completes another lap. Shenango lightly have spaced themselves out a bit. Now, this really is more about the pit stop game, I think, than anything else. As you have a good battle now between Mario Gonzalez, Kevin Douglas, and Andrew Elsom for 13, 14, and 15, where Gonzalez and Douglas have already come down pit road, and Elsom has not.
That is going to be an interesting battle right there between those 3 drivers, as Elsom is trying to see if he can work his way up through the field to catch up and make sure he can get a good finish. But he's got to remember, he's got to come down pit road and make a pit stop, as here comes Kevin Douglas. He'll take a peek up around Mario Gonzalez as they climb the hill once again before making their way downward hill and into the final 2 corners.
See if anybody else is of note here in this mix. Also, Sean Bonet ahead of both of these two after they made their pit stops. The short pitting worked for Bonet in that sense to leapfrog these two. Bonet currently up in 11th, and that will be something we will keep our eyes on over the course of the next few minutes or so. About 10 minutes and change to go in this race. Gives us the opportunity to remind you that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by the folks at Z1 Analyzer. The Z1 Analyzer application is aimed at improving the most important part of the car, you, the driver. The Z1 Analyzer provides a lap overview, driving line analysis, braking analysis, and turn analysis, so you can quickly find out where you can improve your lap times and your consistency. Get into the winner's circle more often with the Z1 Analyzer and the Z1 Dashboard. Visit www.z1dashboard.com for more information. And one more congratulations to Gary Rice, who is the winner of the EDE giveaway and the Z1 Analyzer software package. And you want a shot at that? Register for the PCA Sim Racing EDE program at PCASimRacing.com/EDE. Do that. Get involved in that program. You may end up being the winner of the next Z1 Analyzer software package, which will be given away next Friday night at Road Atlanta. It gives us the opportunity to tell you about some of the other events coming up in the world of Podium Esports in the next week or so. We are back on air on Monday night as the Sim 500 Train Service Cup Series heads to Bristol Motor Speedway. And that'll be found on the Podium Esports Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Podium Esports at 9 p.m. Eastern. Some of the best drivers in the Class A Cup cars, the stock cars will go to it. Then the very best of NASCAR Sim Racing take to Las Vegas Motor Speedway as the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series continues its march towards the playoffs. Broadcast for that will start at 9 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday night, September 22nd on iRacing's Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Wednesday night, it's the Esports Racing League that will also head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That Anthony Alfredo's league of choice. Master and commander of everything that happens in that world, and you'll find that broadcast at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the ERL Twitch, the ERL Facebook page, the ERL Twitter page, Anthony Alfredo's YouTube, amongst other spots, before we are back in action with round number 4 of PCA Sim Racing Series 5 from Road Atlanta next Friday night, coming all your way September 25th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel. So plenty to talk about in our world of racing. Say the break.
Certainly is indeed. Also, there's some other special events happening, I believe, next week as well, as we go a little bit supercar racing as well with the V8 supercars for the Bathurst 1000.
Bathurst 1000 is next week. California Clash also next week. Bob Jenkins and Alex Hayden. ESPN versus NBCSN and the Motor Racing Network, respectively. On the call with Justin Prince as some of the best drivers celebrate 30 year anniversary this year of the release of Days of Thunder, that great movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. And you can see that broadcast in the California Clash Twitch, or rather not Twitch, how about Twitter and Facebook and twitch.tv/Bearded Sim Racer. That'll be coming your way Wednesday night after the ERL race from Las Vegas. Still no pit stops for the top 7 drivers, and Clifton Lipple and Sean Benet are 8th and 9th. So I guess in a sense the strategy worked for Benet, but only to a point, because he started relatively deep in the field. Began tonight in 10th and currently running in the 9th position.
But yet still, we have a lot of bit of racing left to go as we're closing in on about 5 laps left to go in this race. So anything can still happen. We still have to wait and see if these top 7 will make a pit stop. I believe we will have to see at least Raphael, Stephen Chen, and Adam Golightly make a pit stop because of just how hard they have been racing each other since the drop of the green flag. I don't think they have saved any fuel. Trey Drawhorn, Jean-Paul Linné, possible they could possibly squeeze out enough just to make it to the end.
It'll be tight. It'll be close. Rodney Campbell and Sean Benet there in the mix in 7th and 8th, and Campbell came out ahead of Benet, so Campbell up to P7 and now done with his pit stop. There's Brett Holmes, Ed Nelson, and John Patterson, and 3 in the middle of the pack, along with the front 3 of Amarim, Chen, and Golightly. That trio.
Here they come.
All going to shuffle through 1, 2, 3. Everybody in on the same lap. Lap number 22, company of 23, is the number for your race leaders who will come in for their splash of gas with just under 7 minutes to go.
Now the question will be, what will Trey Drawhorn do? Will he stay out on track? I don't think he's going to have enough time to catch up to the race leaders at all whatsoever, as they are now still waiting to get to their pit box. Raphael Amin misses his pit box, actually has to back up. That's going to be detrimental for him.
That makes that very interesting, because that means Stephen Chen may be able to leap around and ahead of him. And there goes Golightly, who goes quickly and jumps ahead of both Chen and Amarim. And Golightly takes the lead on the pit stop. So new leader here with 6 minutes to go. And it's the new man, Adam Golightly, out of the Lone Star region of the PCA, who may be on track to win on debut now.
He is definitely now got to hold off a hard-charging Raphael Amin and Stephen Chen, though. This is going to be a tall order for the rookie as he comes into turn number 4. All 3 of them lined up nose to tail for the final 6 minutes.
So now this completely becomes about whether or not Golightly can hold Amarim at bay. And Amarim has been the fastest of this trio. But can he hang on and claw that lead back on the 14 machine? Also being told that it's Adam Golightly's birthday today as well. So what a birthday present this would be to shock a lot of people, I think, and come in and win on debut, not only in Series 5, but in this club class too, which is very competitive to say the least.
He certainly is, as here comes Raphael Amin to the inside. A brave move. He will make it and take the lead away from Adam Golightly, but Golightly not giving up just yet. Almost gives a little bit of a tap to Raphael as they go through turns 13 and 14. He'll look to the inside. Here comes Stephen Chen with a head of steam, and Golightly tries to cross over.
Golightly trying to pull the crossover, but Amarim just absolutely powered through those switchback sections on the back straightaway. He gained all his time back on Golightly in that space, and I don't think Golightly was prepared for anybody to charge that hard in the corner. So now Golightly's going to go wide over in 3 and try and diamond it back to carry the momentum down into turn 5, which he may well just. He's going to get a big run on Amarim coming in. We'll see how far he tries to send it off. He'll get back in line behind the 21 machine, though, and think better of it as they come through the hairpin at turn 5.
He is going hard here and the final laps at Barber Motorsports Park, putting the pressure he needs to put on Rafael in order to make it work for him to take home the checkered flag here tonight. As they come up to turn number 7, they're going to go nose to tail, braking into the braking zone, hitting the curves, trying to get the cars turned in the right position to set up for corner exit, as both Steven Chan as well and Go Lightly are smoking the tires. That's how hard they are pushing their Porsches.
I feel like Golightly's probably kicking himself for not pushing near as hard in the switchbacks a few laps ago as Amarim did. That's where Amarim had all the ability to gain all that time back. He got it right in this section as he caught the curve just a little bit there and got a little bit loose coming up the hill to turn 14. But yeah, Golightly, you can see, really is trying to send it off into each and every corner now as we come underneath the 3-minute and 30 banner. So we may be into the 2 lap to go range.
As they come across the line, 2 laps to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. Steven Chen has dropped back quite a little bit of ways, over a second now between him and the race leader, Rafael Omin, but still, Adam Golightly is putting the pressure on Rafael. One small mistake, and Rafael could end up losing this race here once again this season as they come out of turn 2, climb up the hill, and make the run to turn 4.
And you talked a little bit earlier about the diamonding process of turn 2. That's exactly what Golightly is trying to do to get a run off into turn 5, set himself up for a decent exit. But Amarim taking that wider line out of the hairpin, which provides him with some nice defense going into the turn 7 and 8 complex to just sort of creep down the hill here.
As they go down the hill once again through what I call the roller coaster section. That is one tight area to try to make a pass, but they're definitely putting the pressure on to where they could possibly make a pass if they had an opening. But now down the back straightaway they go. Golightly is putting that pressure and gains a little bit of time that time as he utilizes a little bit of the slipstream as they climb up the hill once again.
Watching the clock very closely here. It will be most likely 2 to go when they come across the stripe. Golightly all the way down onto the grass. They have both dusted Steven Chen, and they have kicked it up a notch, these two, racing for first and second. Golightly and Amarim fighting for their first win in PCA Sim Racing. 2 minutes left on the clock. We'll have 30 seconds when they come across the line next time by, and that'll be it. So 2 laps to go for your race leaders in the club class, presented by Michelin here at Barber Motorsports Park.
2 laps to go here, and it's going to give everything that both these 2 drivers are going to need to do here as we are closing in. They come out of turn number 2 down to the straightaway before they hit turn number 4. Rafael is hitting the defensive lines, trying to hold off Adam Golightly. Golightly, though, tries to put a little bit of pressure as he tries to go to the inside. Could not make enough room for him to make the pass.
Couldn't make it happen there. You start thinking about places where he may be able to get it done. 5 is a passing zone. This spot down here at the bottom of the hill, turn 8, counts as a passing zone, but he's got to be closer to Rafael Amarim. And I think Amarim's getting better exits out of 5 and 8, which is very crucial when you consider how long the straightaways are that succeed those corners. Will likely really just full tilt over these curves now on the back straightaway, trying to find any sort of space he can use to gain some speed and some momentum on the 14 car.
He is trying every which way he can, trying to find that sweet spot, that groove that he needs in order to gain the momentum and time on his competitor Rafael as they come out of the final corners. This should be the white flag lap.
It is indeed 30 seconds to go when they cross the stripe. So this is it. One more lap for Amarim, for Golightly. Steven Chen still in the mix too. If these two find some way to tangle. But what does Golightly do on this final lap in the corner? It's a big send. It's a wide send. It's another diamond. So he'll lose time in the center of the corner, gain it all back, presumably on corner exit. He's going to really try to wind this car up to have some sort of shot entering the hairpin.
He's going to give it everything he's got as they are going through the final section of the course here on the final lap. Out of turn number 4, you'll see that Rafael gets a great run off corner exit down the straight before they hit turn 7.
Amarim will continue to lead this into turn 7, into turn 8. Golightly send that big send, clears the curb entirely, quick on the brakes over an 8. Amarim again gets the better exit, and he was faster by 3/10 that last time by, and he continues to stretch it out. And this is Al Amarim unless he makes a mistake in the final part of the racetrack, Taylor Burris.
This is critical. Can Rafael be able to make the perfect run through this final section? They go up the hill once again for the final time before they go downhill into turns 12 and 13.
All Rafael Amarim in the final few laps of this club class feature race, and they will come out of the final corner, and he will go home next week at Road Atlanta with big momentum. Rafael Amarim wins the PCA Sim Racing Club Class feature at Barber Motorsports Park, presented by Michelin. Better way forward, and you see Golightly coming in to give a celebratory drive there, but a very impressive body of work from Rafael Amarim, who had one of the fastest cars all night and really did have to work in the final 5 minutes after that pit stop to get the race lead back and make sure he got what you would, I think, pretty fairly argue deserved in this race.
Yes, I mean, that was definitely a race that he deserved winning. As we are watching some of the other field, the rest of the cars come through, Robert Cottle decided to take his Porsche off-road racing a little bit. Wrong form of racing with the Porsche, of course, here with the GT4s, but still tries to continue on as we see the rest of the field come across the start-finish line to end their race here in the club class.
Robert Cottle going to continue to slide down the running order, and had a big issues there coming up the hill. He's just ahead of Jake Steinbrink, and was running in 13th, and is going to lose that spot back, and is going to have to go all the way back into P14 as he's going to come through the final 2 corners to complete his run this evening along with Jake Steinbrink. Those two come across the line, and as they finish up, time to turn our attention to the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished in our 3rd feature of the evening. Rafael Amarim gets victory number 1 on the season. He's the 2nd driver tonight to come into his class's race 3rd in points and win after it was all Earl Arntz Jr. in the sport class. But Amarim wins over Golightly. Stephen Chen came home in 3rd. Trey Drawhorn 4th. Clifton Lipple finished in the 5th position. 6th went to John Paul Leno. Rodney Campbell was 7th. 8th went to the 7 car of Sean Bonet after that alternative pit strategy. Klaus Nielsen came home in 9th. Kevin Douglas from Douglasville, Pennsylvania, comes home in 10th.
And as the rest of the field comes around, Mario Gonzalez will come home in 11th, followed by Michael Patterson in 12th. Brett Holmes in 13th position with Robert Cottle 14th. Jake Steinbrink will come home in 15th, the last car on the lead lap. Tamer Elbuga will come home 16th, first car 1 lap down. Spencer Karate in 17th. Brady McMacken will come home in 18th. Marco Harris 19th. Rounding out your top 20, Bruce Robinson.
21st in the club class race was Sean Murphy. Mike Nyden came home 22nd. 23rd went to Ed Nelson, and Andrew Elsom finished in 24th. 25th was the 63 of John Patterson. Patrick Gill, unfortunately, 26th in shotgun on this field in the full field rundown. So that's where your favorite driver finished. We now turn our attention to Rafael Amarim out of the Peach State region of the PCA. Rafael, we've been looking at pivotal moments all night when we've been talking to drivers. For you, it was that pit stop right at the end when Adam beat both you and Steven out. So as that happened, you put yourself in a hole by overshooting the pit box, but where was your mindset at that point, and how did you figure you were going to try and get around it?
Yeah, so I knew I made a mistake, and I also added too much fuel, so I figured, you know what, I'm just going to have to go for it and be aggressive. I knew I had the pace. I had the pace throughout the race, and I think I had a great race. So I just knew that I had to be aggressive because the Barber is difficult to get around and to pass. So I just knew that whatever opening I had, I would have to take it because there wasn't much time left.
And you went forward at a pretty interesting place of all spots. It was on the back straightaway here. There's 2 sort of left-right switchbacks there. Did you expect Adam to leave the room that he did in those spaces to give you the opening to make the pass?
Not really. I figured I had the momentum, and he left some space at the apex. So I figured I'm just going to go for it. There might not be another opportunity. So I just took the chance.
A successful chance you take, which now makes you the third driver in the top 3 in points to win this season in PCA sim racing. So in the sport class, it's you, Sean Bonet, and Trey Drawhorn, both of whom ended up in the top 10 this evening. So as we step back and look at all the action here, how excited are you for a title fight with those two in particular?
Oh, it's been great. I think Trey and I and Sean, we've been battling every race, and it's been phenomenal. They're great drivers, very clean drivers. So I'm just looking forward to the next race at Road Atlanta, my local track. So I'm just looking forward to bring it and to have a fun race with everyone.
Road Atlanta is up next. Tell us what you should expect. I know you'll know that place well, but what should we expect at home?
Well, I'll try to bring my best. I think as in every race, we'll try to have a fun race and a clean race, and we'll try to do my best there. It would be pretty amazing to win at Road Atlanta, like my local track, the place I love. So definitely we'll try that, but I know we have quite a few good racers as well, so I know it's going to be tough.
Plenty of people to thank in the Peach State region of the PCA. Raphael, who do you need to send the shout-outs to this evening?
Well, I think my wife, she's been supportive of me doing this and kind of taking the time to practice. So really, to my wife.
The missus, the most important part of
Absolutely.
the end of the day. Raphael, on behalf of everybody at Podium Esports and the Porsche Club of America, congratulations on your victory this evening, and best of luck to you next week when you go home to Road Atlanta and try and get the big one.
Absolutely, that would be fun.
As Raphael Amorim, winner number 3 of the night, gets the club class victory, presented to you this evening by Michelin, a better way forward. One more time tonight, it is that time to flip down to the bottom left if you're on YouTube. Click the blue PCA Sim Racing logo, head back to the channel page, the Pro Race, the blue highlights. That's what you want next as Porsche presents Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series Pro Class Action. The best of the best in PCA Sim Racing will take to Barber Motorsports Park when we come back right after this short break. You're watching Podium Esports coverage of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series from Barber Motorsports Park.